Welcome, beginner traders. So, this is a presentation to help you guys break the cycle. So, there is a broken cycle that traders take on their route to success. And the unfortunate truth is that most traders fail before they even place a trade. So, let's make sure that that's not you. Cool. So, the path that most people take, it's quite unfortunate, is that they associate money with success in trading. And quite frankly, that doesn't happen in any other kind of career, because usually you're focused on the process that will eventually make you money. So you're focused on the goal here. So most beginner traders start here. They start thinking that trading is about making money. They start thinking that if you have a successful trade, it means that you made profit on it. If you had an unsuccessful trade, it means that you lost money on it, right? And in your head, you think the bigger the P&L, the better the trader I'm becoming. What's the problem with that? So the problem here mainly is that you're treating money as the goal instead of the result. So let's set an example here, right? In a different career, let's say if your idea of being successful is to be a branch manager at a bank, and you come into the bank and you start at the bottom, so you start as a teller. If you compare this to the world of trading, every single transaction that you make, deposit, withdraw, whatever, you expect to make money out of. And this transaction to transaction, if this was your idea of being successful, then every little thing that you do as a teller is what you expect to make money off of. But instead, what happens is you focus on the process, making sure that I get faster at this. Eventually, you do such a good job as a teller that they'll move me on to a banker, which means that now every 2 weeks, I expect to make more money. And so now that I'm a banker, I do a good enough job. Every 2 weeks, I expect to make more money. And so once I go from a teller to a banker, from a banker to an assistant manager, from an assistant manager to a branch manager, every single step of the way, I make more money. But what am I doing here? I am actually focused on the process of being really good and consistent at being a good teller, being a good banker, being a good branch assistant manager, in order to become that branch manager, which is my end result, the goal that I want. And throughout this, a lot of time, we would be making more money. So notice that money here is a result of my hard work, not every single transaction that I do as a teller, which is where I began, right? And this is where we are as beginner traders. The second step that they take is when you get obsessed with strategy. After losing money in your first few trades, you assume that you don't have the right strategy. And so what do? This is where you start trying to knowledge stack, right? You go to YouTube, you learn about certain indicators, you learn about the EMA, VWAP, you learn about RSI, you learn about the bands, the Bollinger Bands, and you start trying to stack these indicators in ways that in your head makes sense in order for you to create a for sure system for you to have successful trades, right? And you start looking for confirmations, and somehow in your head you've thought, I figured it out, right? You feel like that little bulb in your head goes off. I figured it out. If I take a trade when the RSI is low, if I take a buy position and we are oversold, I'll make money. If I see that the candles have gone over the Bollinger Band, it's time for me to sell. I'll make money. If I see that the EMA crosses VWAP, I'll make money. But you notice how every single time all you keep thinking about is making money? And you keep thinking about, okay, this has to be a 100% success thing. And so the goal becomes find something that works 100% of the time. Problem. You confuse the tools with an edge. These are just tools. tools that will help you create some kind of bias for you to be able to get into your entry model to have some kind of risk to reward that makes sense. So again, not the right way of thinking about this. And third, right, you start outsourcing your confidence. You realize that there is no 100% strategy. And so because there is no 100% strategy, you start thinking that others have figured out the right way to make money. And so you join signaling groups, which at first sounds like a good idea. Somebody knows something that I don't. So let me take on their trades, make some money, and hopefully in the process, I will learn how to trade like them. You start joining Discords, you start joining Telegram alerts, and you keep copy trading these gurus because all you want to do is make money. This seems like the right step, and I know in your brain you're thinking, well, somebody knows something that I don't, and I want to learn this, but I want to learn it at a discounted rate, right? Like if I join a signaling group and I take enough of their trades, I will learn how they trade. But the thing with this is, like, most of the times these gurus are not going to show you how they trade. All they're going to do is give you an opportunity to get into their trades and copy trade them. Again, seems like the right idea, but you don't understand the market this way. And all you want is certainty because someone else is taking the risk and has already done the work to understand the market, and you feel like if they're confident about a trade, you should be confident too. Problem here, if you don't understand why a trade is taken, you will never survive without someone else. And the whole point of trading, at least this whole process, is for you to be able to do it by yourself. Everyone has their reason for why they want to enter trading. You want space freedom, you want time freedom, you don't want to have a boss, and yet somehow you're placing your future on the hands of someone else. What if that signaling group goes out? What happens then? What if they start going through like a really horrible losing streak? And then you start blaming the signaling person. You start releasing your accountability and putting it onto someone else. That doesn't sound like a really good trader to me. Oh, that sounds like someone really trying to find the easy way out. But if you're here, my hope is that you know that there's a better way. So if you've gotten past this point and you've continued using these signaling groups or whatever, and maybe you're into mentorship but you don't really understand what you're doing, I'm sorry, because it means all you've done is wasted a lot of time. And if you've done all of what I said so far and you haven't gotten anything past here, then I'm happy you're here because I'm here to save you time. There is absolutely a better way. But first, I need you to just be open-minded about this. So, we're going to take a different path. The path less traveled by, right? So, the first thing I want you to do is think about your mental and environmental housekeeping. I'm going to give you an example. Do you guys remember that movie Limitless with Bradley Cooper? So he takes this pill, and his intention with that pill is to write a book or an article. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he had some deadline. It was a book. He had a deadline. And after taking this pill is meant to give you access to 90% of your brain. So he goes home and he realizes that his environment is a mess. It's dirty. There's dishes everywhere. His clothes are all over the place. Books everywhere. And the first thing he does is he cleans up. Mind you, his goal is to finish writing this book. But before anything else, he needed to clean his environment and clean his mental space, organize everything. And so I want you to do the same thing. I want you to clean your room, clean your workspace. We need a clean foundation. We need to remove a lot of the chaos from this environment. I need you to start creating basic routines for you to follow. Now, if you work 9 to 5 and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go to the gym after that, go to the gym. I'm going to shower after that, and then I'm going to, I don't know, like have a healthy meal. Do that. The more you do what you say you're going to do, the better you will be at listening to yourself and aligning with the version of yourself that is going to be successful. You need to start habit stacking here. You need to create a habit of listening to yourself and creating routines that will eventually lead to your most successful version. Why does this matter? If you are undisciplined now, if you can't listen to yourself now, if you can't have a clean space, if you can't be organized, if you can't have a clean life, that means sometimes cutting off the people that are detrimental to your success, that are people that are causing you to be going out partying when you know you should be studying, right? Cutting all of this, cutting the noise. If you can't do all of that, how do you expect you to trust yourself in an environment that's very highly stressed, that has a high amount of stress, and that expects the best version of you? So, trading exposes who you really are. And you'll hear this a lot. Trading is just a tug of war between your best version and your worst version. So, you've cleaned your room. You've cleaned your life, right? Everything around you looks and feels like it's supposed to. You're starting to listen to yourself a little more. You're starting to habit stack. So what's next, right? The whole point of this is to trade. So the next thing to do is to try to get trading into your life instead of having your life try to get into trading. What do I mean by that? If you work a 9 to 5, it makes no sense for you to try to trade during your 9 to 5. So you need to try to find times that best suit your schedule. So I want you to learn about the available trading sessions. That's Asia, that's London, New York AM, and New York PM. Why are these important? Well, we want to trade when there's a lot of volume in the market. And a lot of volume in the market happens around these times. So you want to see like when do we see a lot of volume, and when is the probability of me trading and trading my model increases around this time. So look at those times, see which one of these times best fits your schedule, because we want to pick one, because we're only going to trade one session that suits your schedule, your energy, your lifestyle. If you've worked from 9 to 5 and then you go to the gym and then you expect to trade right afterwards, both your physical and your mental capacity is depleted by then. So it doesn't make sense for you to trade then. And so you want to find a time that best suits you. The key idea here is that you don't need every single opportunity. You need your opportunity. In order for you to find your opportunity, trading has to fit into your life, not the other way around. Now we knowledge stack, or what I like to call build a base. So here you have fixed what I call your life, and you have found ways to incorporate trading into your life. Now is when you start what I like to call this is when you start your training. So here I need you to find a free charting platform and to get really good at using it. YouTube is your best friend here. Right now, TradingView for me is the best charting platform. It's free, has a lot of tools for you, and with this, you'll be able to trade a lot easier because you have an idea of how to use this platform, but also like how to best create the environment for you to trade. Again, YouTube is your best friend. Use it and really learn it. I'm going to be eventually be coming out with a YouTube video on how to use TradingView, but for right now, I'd suggest for you to like pause this video, pause here, and go find some YouTube videos for that. Cool. The next thing, building the base part 2, is understanding how price moves. So I want you to understand candle anatomy. how a candle opens, how it closes, the high, the lows. I need you to understand time frame importance. If we're talking about higher time frame, we're talking about anything over the 1 hour. We're talking about lower time frame, we're talking about anything under the 1 hour. I want you to understand support, resistance, supply, demand. I want you to understand how the market reacts. I want you to understand when news happens. What platform should you find to know when news happens? Maybe you are trading options, and so maybe we have news that comes out for a specific company. Maybe we have their earnings, right? All of this is super important, and all of this is a base knowledge that you need for whatever model or strategy that you want to use. So it's super important that you know this. And above all this, the mental is super important. So I need you to understand that here we are not here to predict. We are here to understand context. During this time, up until now, everything that you get in terms of knowledge is amazing. Past this point, we want to become specialists. But let's see. What have we accomplished so far? So first, we have cleaned our environment and organized our life. If that is all you got from this, you still won, right? Organizing your life, being able to habit stack, being able to move into a space where you are doing exactly what you say you're going to do, removing certain people from your life, understanding how to move forward where everything that you do is intentional. If that's all you did, honestly, like that is fucking amazing. Second, I want you to find the session that best fits your schedule, right? So you've done that. You understand that maybe it's best for you to trade before work. Maybe it's best for you to trade after work before you go to the gym. Whatever. We have gained a base understanding on how to use our charting platform. I wouldn't say you became an expert, but you have a base understanding of how to use TradingView, for example. Cool. And we have gained a rudimentary understanding of some of the base concepts in trading. Supply, support, demand, resistance, how candles move. Maybe you understand some candle patterns, right? I'm going to call it displacement, but let's say you call it engulfing. Doesn't matter. At this point, maybe a doji. You understand what that candle is. You start understanding better the candle patterns. You start understanding that maybe a really big wick isn't a big thing. Things of that nature. You're tapped in. You have a pulse on the market. So, everything we've done up till now, we haven't actually traded. Sure, we touched charts, but we actually haven't placed our first trade. And you're asking yourself, well, isn't this a trading video? Why is this dude talking about everything else but trading? Well, right now is when we actually get the opportunity to do that. But before we do that, I really want you to sit down and research and find a model that best suits you. Again, this is the intentional path. We're being very intentional here. So, research. You can spend about a week, 2 weeks, whatever. You gotta research here. You gotta find somebody with whom you identify with, and you gotta find a system that is proven and repeatable. We're not here to reinvent the wheel. We want something that already works, that fits into our life. After all of the work that we've done so far up until now, we want something that best fits our life, best fits the way that we think, best fits the way that we are, best fits the way we understand risk management. Are you somebody that's a little more conservative? Are you somebody that's less conservative and you want like a very high risk? You know, this is the difference between two kind of trading models. Something that's high RR, high risk to reward, which means that the win rate is going to be low, or you have something that's higher on the win rate, but it means the risk to reward is going to be low. These are two different types of models, but these models suit two very different type of people. Somebody who can stand a little bit of risk, and somebody who's a little bit more conservative. Again, this is all mental. So You need to make sure that you find a model that best suits you. And after all this, we want to remind ourselves that not all strategies work on all assets or all sessions. And so, my best advice to you is find somebody that trades your session. After you see their session, find a singular asset and a singular model. I don't usually recommend people to get mentorship before this. And if you've spent too much time in research and maybe you spent a year or so, now you're just wasting time. This is the perfect time, or the golden pocket zone, for you to get a mentor. I know some people struggle with this because of the financial aspect of it. If I'm getting a mentor, I'm going to be paying somebody, let's say $3,000. I'm going to be paying somebody $3,000 for them to teach me something that I can probably learn on my own. Okay? A mentorship lasts about 3 months. I'm pretty sure I can figure out before then. Okay. This is going to be really, really messed up, but you're not going to figure it out before then. You're not going to figure out how a model actually works in less than 3 months unless you have someone who's teaching it to you. And so a mentorship right now is the most logical thing you can do. This isn't taught in school, right? You don't go to whatever university or college to learn how to trade. Not like this. But tuition is still due. You do still have to put in some effort and some money up to learn this skill. Just like anything else. This isn't a regular job. This isn't like you going to work at a restaurant. You are learning a skill that will propel your life into a completely different life. And so you have to be okay with the idea that you will need to invest in order to get the future that you want. What is it? Insanity is the idea of doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. Do something different. Get a mentor. Doesn't have to be me. I don't care if it's me. Get a mentor that best suits your time, your lifestyle, your energy, that trades within the same window that you want to trade, that trades the same asset that you want to trade. And make sure that your win rate or your risk to reward matches that same mentor. All this just makes sense. I don't understand why some people have a hard time grasping this aspect of trading. Getting a mentor is the cheat code to this. So, up until this point, you are a generalist. You have some idea of how time frames work. You have some idea of what you want to do. But now you're going to become a specialist. You hear this a lot. Traders are trained snipers. They only get into entries when it makes sense. So now we have one session, one asset, and one model. So what do we do next? We're in this mentorship. Right now, we are going to study one model and we're going to study it deeply. We're going to become specialists in that one model. So for the next 3 months, your job is quite simple. You don't care about money. Remember, that's not as important. You need to understand the model. You need to ask questions constantly. You're paying to be in this mentorship. So your time is really, really valuable. And so I need to make sure, this is what I'm thinking as someone who's in the mentorship. I need to make sure that I ask everything that comes to mind so that I have zero doubts about the model. I have zero doubts when I should be taking a trade, when I should not be taking a trade, under what conditions should this model work. I am back testing the model. I am asking questions about the back testing sessions that I've had. I am journaling every single day, both on my psych and the trades that I'm executing. I want to make sure that when I leave this mentorship, that I know everything that I need to know, and I am confident about taking trades outside of this. During the mentorship, you need to be trading. Paper trading is cool and all, but you need to understand the psych, the risk. You need to be able to get some emotions in there so you can work through them and have full trust on the model. What we're not going to do, we're not going to strategy hop. There's no reason for you to strategy hop. Anything other than the model is useless information. I'm going to repeat that again because some people don't understand. If you start strategy hopping, you're setting yourself back again. If you start trying to understand, oh, okay, well, this is how VWAP does with this model, you're messing up the model. That's not the model. And so you need to understand that your job, your only job here is to understand the model. Do not change it. Do not change the risk to reward. Do not change the win rate. It's not up to you. You're learning the model. You're becoming a mime. You're the best. You're mimicking exactly whatever your mentor is doing. And your job is to ask a lot of questions about this model, because all you're going to be doing for these 3 months is copying his or her style of trading. You're not copy trading them. You're copying their style, understanding the model. Now, this is very different from that signaling group where that person isn't teaching you the reason why they're taking the trade. You're in this mentorship to actually understand the reasons for you to take that trade and what the model is. This is training. Simple. Your job is to come out of this mentorship with a full understanding of the model and to trade confidently. So, you finished the mentorship and you're at a break-even stage. Well, let me define what that is for you. Break-even stage means that you've done this mentorship, you have invested into this career, and you have made all of the money back from all of your investments into trading. Cool. By now, you have, again, break even. You have created personal rules. When you should or should not trade. What are the best times for you to trade? You have eliminated obvious mistakes. These are what I call user errors when you're trading. You're going to lose, but make sure that the trades that you're losing are what I like to call probability losses. Your trading style has a win rate. Let's say it's 80. People only focus on the 80% win rate, not the 20% losing rate. And so when you lose and it's a probability loss, make sure that that loss fits inside of that 20% and not a user mistake error, which then blows your 80% win rate. All right? I need you to focus on execution. You want to make sure you execute your model the way that it's meant to be executed. And so this is not the time to think about profits. Not yet. That time will come. And I need you to review the journals that you've done for your trades. Remember earlier, I said I want you to journal your psych, market conditions, and your actual execution of the trades. It's important to journal that because after we're done with the mentorship, every single week, we need to go over that journal and see if there is anything we need to fix. Journaling, oh man, people stress journaling, and then what I've noticed is that they don't go back to reassess the trades that they take. Journaling is important, but what's most important after journaling is actually reviewing your journal. This is how you create rules for yourself under certain conditions. Maybe your model doesn't do the best at all-time highs. So why wouldn't you just wait for all-time highs to be done for you to have an increased probability in a winning trade, right? These are things that you get from your journal. But some people don't really journal it and they go off of their mood, and that's not what we're here to do. We're here to try to be really good at our specific model and our trading style and to increase our probability of having a winning trade. Your progress will soon start reflecting on your P&L, and that's all from the work that you've done up until now. What's the next step after your break even? Well, we start scaling and we start incorporating rules that we found in our journal. Now's when money starts to matter, right? You start scaling with risk and structure. You start understanding that maybe certain trades under certain conditions do end up having a higher risk to reward or having a higher win rate. And so you start making sure that you put more risk onto those kind of trades. You start understanding that maybe you could increase your contract size. Maybe you start leaving a runner. These are things that happen once you are past the break-even stage. Once you understand, really understand market conditions. Once you have a good understanding of your model, and you start creating these slight rules where your discretion is informing the model. This is when you become really successful. This is when you start scaling gradually. And you really just focus on survival here, because this is where you allow probability to do the heavy lifting. If you have an 80% win rate and you've lost 2-3 trades, the probability is that you still have an 80% win rate. So the likelihood of me losing that 4th trade is very low. Over a 100 trade span, 80% of them are going to win. And I've already lost 3 times. What is the likelihood that I'll lose for another 17 times? Very low. I need my 80%, right? So let probability do the heavy lifting in this part. And these are 2 bonus steps. If you've gotten this far, you are absolutely a profitable trader. You're making money from trading. You're no longer working your 9 to 5. So here is where I call nirvana, right? You continue scaling. This looks different for everyone. Whether that's like scaling accounts if you're using prop firms, scaling contracts if you're using options, maybe you're increasing your risk size, scaling. And then the last part, and I cannot stress this enough, this is the rule of money. I'm not going to go too much into it, but the rule of money is that you always give back. Again, that looks different for everyone. It can be giving back in terms of education, creating YouTube videos, creating content, growing your team. Maybe you start creating some kind of mentorship to be able to give back to the traders, just like I'm doing now. This looks different for everyone. So I'm not going to define this. I'm just going to leave it very open-ended. Give back. That's it. Well, this is a series for beginner traders. I am going to be doing this series to get you from step 1 all the way to step 10. Now, I want you guys to follow, like, subscribe, whatever, to get more in tune with these steps. And every single week, I will be releasing one of these videos to help you go from a complete beginner trader the correct way into a profitable trader. So join the journey, join the series, and I cannot wait to see you guys in the next one.